Welcome back to another chronic illness day in the life, my sweet friends. I am so happy that you are here. These last several days have been quite the challenge for me. I had to do a medication wash on a couple of my most important medications so that I could complete some medical testing. And when I tell you that I have been on the struggle bus, I am not exaggerating. After spending 4 straight days nearly completely horizontal, today is the first day that I feel like I am physically able to get myself out of bed. So I thought I would take you along a day in the life of me trying to get back to my somewhat of a normal routine after being in a pretty intense flare. As you saw a few seconds ago, the first thing that I do before I even stand up or sit up is put my compression socks on. And then once I head to the bathroom and brush my teeth, I will return to bed for a little bit just to get my blood back perfusing in the right way that it needs to, back up to my brain and back up to my heart. If I notice that I'm feeling really shaky when I get back to bed, I will take a salt stick tab, but today I was feeling pretty decent, so I got out of bed and moved on with my morning routine. It is quite a gloomy day here in Colorado, which is very rare, so I decided to have a nice, slow, cozy morning. As you guys saw in my last video, I ended up making some focaccia bread because I was fermenting some sourdough bread and it overproofed because I was way too fatigued to even shape it. So, a little pro tip, if you like making sourdough bread and you overproof your dough, you can easily turn it into focaccia bread. And so, with this focaccia bread, I have been making these breakfast sandwiches. So, I started out by roasting up some turkey bacon in the oven and then I threw it between the focaccia bread. This is some vegan mature cheddar Violife cheese, and then I also used a little bit of mayo, sriracha, and some white onions on the bread. This sandwich is like so indulgent and delicious. And with bigger breakfast sandwiches like this or heavier breakfasts, I'll usually break it into two. So I ate half of this breakfast sandwich and then I actually ended up sending the rest of it with my husband to work. I also just wanted to share that I'm really struggling with knowing what to eat, and it sounds like a lot of you are also struggling with just the overall process of knowing what to eat, being able to get your groceries, being able to put them away, being able to meal prep, and the day to day struggle with figuring out what to eat and what to make for particularly dinner is the most stressful. And so I just wanted to validate that because I have really been struggling with that too. I've had to change my diet so many times over the years: vegan, gluten free, low FODMAP, low histamine, you name it, I have done it. And it really just burns you out and gets you into a place where you have absolutely no idea what to eat. And even if you did, you don't have the energy to actually make it. So I've really been trying to keep it simple. And if I eat the same meal every single breakfast and every single lunch, I am totally fine with that. Since transitioning back to work, I am only working about 5 to 10 hours per week. And so I have been continuing to fine tune my morning routine and just my day to day routine. And so protecting my morning hours has been such a solid investment in just having better energy throughout the day. And so after having breakfast and relaxing a little bit, I transitioned to do a couple of hours of work. And then I really stick to those 2 hour meal windows. And so I transitioned to the kitchen to make a smoothie. And one of the things that I'm trying to do, along with everyone else, is add more protein. And so I've been using the Truvani protein powder in our smoothies, and that's been delicious. I also love to multitask wherever I can. So I had a CEU event that I just took literally from the bathtub today. I'm also playing around with the time of day that I do my hygiene routine because I have missed my shower multiple days in each week over the last couple of weeks. And so instead of showering in the early evening before I do my first mise en place meal prep, I actually moved my shower routine to the morning time right before my 1 to 3 p.m. crash window. And I've had a lot more success with showering at least every other day rather than, just a couple of times a week. Because I have ADHD and because I am constantly trying to reconfigure my routines, I set up alarms that go off every single hour as a health check in so that I can make sure if I need to get horizontal, I do that. If I need salt, I do that. If I need to eat, I'll do that. It's basically just a reminder for me to make sure that I am doing okay. The other thing that I'm trying to do with my meals is keep them really balanced. So, making sure I have the protein, the fat, and the carb. My labs have been trending in not the right direction. And I think that's because I'm having some pretty severe blood sugar spikes because I'm not able to get a lot of food in my body at one time. And I'm not able to like have balanced meals because I can only get down what I can get down. And so I'm trying to be better about that. I'm also really trying to be better at getting in my PT stretches and my routine before my 1 to 3 p.m. crash window hits. And I recognize this was not the most perfect spot to do that. I had zero room. And today was one of those lucky days where I did get everything in before my 1 to 3 p.m. rest period. I did, however, forget to have my 3:30 p.m. snack, and so I just had half of a banana and a little bit of peanut butter to hold me over. And then I moved on to my mise en place, or my round one of meal prep. And for those of you that are new here, that is just my opportunity to kind of get the prep work out of the way. So it's like cooking meals in two different versions. So I prep everything, I put it in the fridge, I clean the kitchen up a little bit, and then I go rest before I come back to make the final meal. So tonight I was trying to use up everything in our fridge. So I had some cooked rice that I wanted to turn into fried rice. And I also used the sliced cabbage and carrots that I had from last week's video, actually, that you guys saw. So those were some leftovers that I just turned into fried rice. And then I also wanted to try this Daring shredded chicken. So this is a vegan chicken product, and you'll get to see me cook that here in a little bit, but I think it was delicious. We'll take a quick little pivot for my adrenaline. I had a strong little energy burst that lasted about 45 seconds. Here is the Daring chicken that is almost done. I think it was delicious. So here's me cooking that round two of my dinner. So I just sauteed up the onions and garlic, and then I threw in the broccolini, the cabbage, and the carrots. And then with those two plates that I got out that we're actually going to eat on is what I'm using to kind of bring my ingredients back and forth so that I don't continue to dirty dishes. And then I throw my rice into the nice hot pan and just let that sit for a couple of seconds before throwing in my coconut aminos and a little bit of sriracha. And then I threw back in some of that Daring chicken, my veggies, tossed it all around. And once it came off the pot, I threw in some sesame seeds, those green onions that I cut up earlier, and then I just drizzled a little bit of sriracha on top. This was delicious. I unfortunately only was able to get about 2 bites in. I am just really struggling with nausea. The night ended as it always does, with me on the couch with my husband watching our favorite shows, and then I brush my teeth and I am in bed by 8:30 p.m. I love you guys. Have a great weekend.